They say marriage is about sharing everything, your dreams, your home, and your bank account. But there's a terrifying question no one asks at the altar. What happens when your partner decides that his family's luxury is more important than your survival? Meet Sarah. She is a woman who spent 3 years scrubbing into surgery, working double shifts in a trauma center, and missing every single holiday just to buy a future. And then there is Mark, the husband who decided to spend that future on a single weekend party. He thought he could drain her life savings, shrug his shoulders, and tell her to just work more. He thought he held all the cards. But he made one critical calculation error. He didn't realize that while he was popping champagne in Cabo, she was busy selling the roof right over his head. My name is Sarah, and if you saw me on the street, you'd probably just see tired eyes and scrubs that have been washed too many times. I'm a Tier 1 trauma nurse. For the last 5 years, my life has been a blur of fluorescent lights, beeping monitors, and the smell of antiseptic. I don't say that to complain. I say that so you understand what my money actually represents. Every dollar in my bank account wasn't just currency. It was hours I spent standing over strangers while they took their last breaths. It was Christmas mornings I missed with my parents. It was the vacation days I sold back to the hospital. I did it all for us. Or at least, I thought I did. I married Mark 4 years ago. Mark is charming. He's the kind of guy who buys the first round of drinks for the whole bar even if his credit card is maxed out. He's the fun uncle. But mostly, he is a man who cannot say the word no to his family, especially his younger sister, Bella. Bella is 30 years old, but in our family, she's treated like a delicate toddler who needs constant financial cushioning. Mark and I had a deal, a strict one. We were saving for a forever home. We called it the Oak Street Fund. We needed exactly $82,500 for a 20% down payment on a 4-bedroom colonial in a good school district. I became obsessed with that number, $82,500. It was my finish line. While I was picking up extra shifts, eating tuna sandwiches, and driving a 2014 Honda Civic with a cracked bumper, Mark was living. He leased a brand new BMW because image matters in sales. He bought a $3,000 gaming setup. He dropped $500 on dinners with his parents because he wanted to look successful. I bit my tongue every time. I told myself, it's okay, Sarah. Just keep saving. Once we get the house, things will settle down. But there is one detail about our life that Mark always seemed to conveniently forget. The roof we were sleeping under, a small, paid-off Victorian cottage on Maple Street, wasn't ours. It was mine. I inherited this cottage from my grandmother Rose 2 years before I even met Mark. The deed has one name on it, Sarah Jenkins. Mark moved in, never paid a dime of rent, and started calling it our place in front of his buddies. He acted like the lord of the manor. I never corrected him because I didn't want to emasculate him. I thought we were partners. I didn't realize that in his mind I wasn't a partner. I was just an ATM with a pulse. It was Tuesday morning, exactly 72 hours before we were scheduled to sign the papers for the Oak Street house. I had just finished a 12-hour overnight shift. My eyes were burning and my feet were swollen, but I didn't care. I felt light. I drove straight to the bank, still wearing my navy blue scrubs, holding a celebratory coffee. I was there to pick up the cashier's check for the closing costs. I walked up to the teller window. It was Mrs. Gable, the lady who always gave me lollipops for the neighborhood kids. I smiled and said, "I'm here to withdraw the Oak Street Fund, Mrs. Gable. $82,500, please." She typed on her keyboard. Then she stopped. She frowned, tapped a few more keys, and then looked at me over her glasses. Her face wasn't welcoming anymore. It was pitying. "Sarah," she whispered, sliding a small transaction slip across the marble counter. "I think there's been a mistake. The balance is $14.50. The world tilted. My vision actually blurred. I grabbed the counter to stop from falling. "That's impossible," I stammered. "Check the joint savings, the high-yield account." "I am looking at the joint savings, honey. A wire transfer was initiated at 9:08 a.m. this morning. $80,000. authorized by Mark Daniels. I didn't scream. I couldn't breathe. I walked out to the parking lot, my hands shaking so hard I couldn't unlock my car. I sat in the driver's seat and dialed Mark. It rang 4 times before he picked up. There was loud music in the background. "Hey, babe!" he shouted. "I'm at the tuxedo fitting. What's up?" "The money," I choked out. "Mark, where is the money?" "Oh," he said. The cheerfulness dropped from his voice, replaced by a tone of annoyance. "Yeah, I was going to tell you tonight. Bella called. The venue she wanted in Cabo, the platinum package. They demanded full payment up front or she was going to lose the date. Mom and Dad were short, so I stepped up." I stared at the dashboard. You stepped up? Mark, that was our house. That was 3 years of my life. That was my overtime." "Sarah, stop," he snapped. "Don't be so dramatic. It's my sister's wedding. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. We can just push our house buying back a year. You're a nurse. The hospital is always offering overtime. Just pick up a few extra shifts and we'll be back on track in no time. Family comes first." "Just pick up a few extra shifts." He said it so easily, like I was a machine. Like my exhaustion was a resource he could just tap into whenever his sister needed a luxury vacation. He didn't ask me. He didn't apologize. He just took it. I sat in that parking lot for an hour. The engine was off, but I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. Family comes first. That was his justification. But as I stared at the bank lobby, I realized the bitter truth. I wasn't his family. I was his insurance policy. I was the safety net that allowed him to act like a millionaire while living on a nurse's salary. If I stayed, this would be my life forever. Every time Bella needed a new purse or his parents needed a new roof, Mark would dip into my sweat and blood to pay for it. He didn't respect me. He felt entitled to me. My phone buzzed. A text from Mark. "Flight leaves tomorrow at 6 a.m. Pack your bags. Let's just go to Cabo and enjoy the wedding. We can figure out the financial stuff when we get back." He was dismissing grand larceny as financial stuff. But that text gave me the one thing I needed. A timeline. He was leaving the country. He would be gone for 5 full days. I looked down at the house key in my lap, the key to the Victorian cottage on Maple Street, the house he lived in rent-free, the house where he hosted his Super Bowl parties and stored his sneaker collection, the house where the deed sat in a fireproof safe with my name on it, and my name alone. A cold calm washed over me. I wiped the single tear from my cheek. I wasn't going to scream anymore. I wasn't going to beg. I picked up the phone and typed a reply. "I have a massive migraine from the stress. I can't fly. You go ahead. I'll stay here and handle things." He replied instantly. Thumbs up emoji. He was relieved. He didn't want me there ruining the party with my drama. He thought handle things meant I was going to pick up extra shifts to fix his mess. He had no idea I was about to handle his entire existence. I watched through the blinds as Mark's Uber pulled away at 4:45 a.m. He didn't even come back upstairs to kiss me goodbye. He was too busy checking his flight status. As soon as his taillights disappeared around the corner, I didn't go back to sleep. I brewed a pot of black coffee and opened my laptop. I found the number for a local real estate investment firm, one of those companies that advertises, "We buy houses for cash, any condition." I called them at 8 a.m. sharp. "I have a property on Maple Street," I told the investor, a man named Mr. Henderson. "Victorian cottage, fully paid off, single owner. I want to sell it today." He laughed nervously. "Ma'am, these things take time. Inspections, title searches." "I don't have time." I cut him off. "The market value is $450. I will give it to you for $350 if we can close in 72 hours, cash only, as is." There was a silence on the other end. I knew he was doing the math. $100,000 in instant equity? It was a shark's dream. "I can be there in 20 minutes with a contract," he said. When Mr. Henderson arrived, he walked through the house, tapping the walls. He asked about the furniture. "The contract says as is," I told him. "That means everything left inside on Friday at 5 p.m. belongs to you. You handle the junk removal." He signed. The next 48 hours were a blur of calculated destruction. I didn't pack everything. I only packed Sarah. I took my clothes. I carefully wrapped my grandmother's antique china, the only thing she really left me besides the house. I took my nursing license, my passport, and my birth certificate. I packed it all into my beat-up Honda Civic. Then I walked into the man cave. This was the spare bedroom Mark had converted. I looked at his 70-inch OLED TV mounted on the wall. I looked at the glass display case holding his investment sneaker collection, limited edition Jordans he swore would triple in value. I looked at the custom leather recliner he bought the same month I told him my car needed new brakes. I didn't touch a single thing. I didn't smash them. I didn't steal them. I simply left them. According to the contract I had just signed, as of Friday afternoon, these weren't Mark's possessions anymore. They were debris, left in a property owned by Henderson Real Estate Holdings. On Friday at 2 p.m., I sat in a title office. I signed my name 20 times. At 2:15 p.m., my phone buzzed. Incoming wire transfer, $350,000. It wasn't the joint account. It was a new account at a completely different bank. I stared at the number. It was 4 times what Mark had stolen from me. I felt a weight lift off my chest so heavy I almost floated out of the chair. I drove to the house one last time. I taped an envelope to the front door. Inside was a copy of the divorce petition I had filed online that morning, and a restraining order preventing him from coming to the hospital. I got in my car, blocked Mark's number, and drove to a luxury apartment complex across town where a doorman opened the gate for me. For the first time in 3 years, I wasn't going to work. I was going to sleep. I didn't need to be there to see the end. I had the best seat in the house, my phone screen. I had left the Ring doorbell active on the front porch, connected to my new Wi-Fi. Sunday afternoon, around 3 p.m., a yellow taxi pulled up to the curb on Maple Street. Mark stumbled out. He looked terrible, sunburned, hungover, and still wearing the wrinkled linen shirt from the wedding brunch. He dragged his suitcase up the walkway, not even looking at the house. He was probably already rehearsing his speech to me, planning how he would guilt-trip me for not picking him up from the airport. He shoved his key into the lock. It didn't turn. He frowned, jiggled it, and tried again. Nothing. He stepped back and looked at the number on the house. Confused. Then he started pounding on the door with his fist. "Sarah! Open the damn door! My key is stuck!" The door swung open. But it wasn't me. Standing in the doorway was a man the size of a vending machine. It was the foreman for Mr. Henderson's renovation crew. He was wearing a dust mask around his neck and holding a crowbar. Mark froze. "Who the hell are you? Where is my wife?" The foreman leaned against the doorframe, looking bored. "Don't know a wife. I know the owner. Lady named Sarah. She sold this place on Friday. Closed the deal cash. We started demo this morning." Mark laughed. A nervous, high-pitched sound. "That's funny. Look, get out of my way. I live here." He tried to push past the man. The foreman didn't budge. He put a heavy hand on Mark's chest and shoved him back toward the stairs. "You don't listen, do you, buddy? The house was sold. As is. That means everything inside, the furniture, the TV, those little colorful sneakers in the glass case, belongs to the developer now. You're trespassing." I watched the color drain out of Mark's face in high definition. He looked past the foreman into the hallway. He saw the empty walls where our photos used to be. He saw a pile of trash bags in the corner. His life, packed up for the dumpster. She can't do that," Mark whispered. "It's my house." "Paperwork says different," the foreman said, then slammed the door in his face. The sound echoed through my phone speaker. Mark stood on the porch for a long time. He pulled out his phone. I watched him dial my number. On my end, it didn't even ring. He checked his bank app next. I saw him tap the screen furiously, refreshing the page, staring at a balance that would never be replenished. He slumped down on the top step, putting his head in his hands. He had no house. He had no car. It was parked in the garage he couldn't access. He had no money, and for the first time in his life, he had no one to bail him out. I closed the app. I set my phone on the marble counter of my new kitchen. The apartment was quiet. No gaming noises, no demands for money, no gaslighting, just silence. I poured myself a cup of tea. It was the most expensive tea I could find at the store, and I didn't even check the price tag. I took a sip, looked out at the city skyline, and finally, for the first time in 5 years, I exhaled. And that is the end of Sarah's journey, a woman who finally stopped pouring into a cup that had no bottom. But before we move on, I want to hear from you. At what point does family loyalty become financial abuse? And did Sarah go too far? Or was this the only way to get her life back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. It is important to remember that the story you just witnessed was a fictional dramatization, created specifically for the purpose of societal reform and awareness. We share these intense scenarios to shine a light on the dark realities of domestic exploitation and the importance of financial boundaries. Please, do not attempt to replicate the schemes or negative behaviors shown here in your real life. Instead, use this as a warning to protect your peace and your hard-earned future before things reach a breaking point. In the end, respect is earned, and justice has a way of finding its own level. If you learned something valuable from this video, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to join us daily.